Survivor Specialist Phil and Alexa are back with our Survivor Edge of Extinction Bootlist game. You can win a buff. I was just reading that off the bottom here. Intern is also here. He's got so many.
I'm back. He's back.
He's
back.
He's back. He's now paid intern. So he's no longer just intern. He's paid intern now.
So we do treat him with some form of respect.
We gave him $1 and a cookie, and it was pretty good.
All I need.
But he's back for the first time. This is the first time you're doing a Bootlist game with us, right? I think so.
No, yeah. Third podcast ever.
Podcast ever. Oh, that's what I was going to tell you, Alexa.
That was it. You forgot to tweet.
That's what it was. Yeah, but anyway, so we're back for our Survivor Edge of Extinction Bootlist game. If anybody hasn't listened to our cast assessment yet, link in the little description here. I wanted to say link in bio, but that makes me nauseous. So the link is bio. That's awful. The link is in the description of this video. We also interviewed Davey Rickenbacker, which actually didn't we haven't gotten that much on it. I think it was because we posted it at like the same exact time as our cast assessment. It was rough because we had to do both the same night. But
Friday night didn't help either.
Yeah,
people probably actually are doing stuff on Friday nights.
Yeah, but if you want to jump in and go listen to Davey now, I would say definitely listen to that podcast. It's a nice trip down memory lane as you're still waiting for more material to come out for Survivor Edge of Extinction. So you can look back, and Davey will probably play again, let's be honest. So why not hear what he has to say about his season? That link's down there. We also have a link to our Patreon. But this is our Bootlist game, which we've been doing since season 30. Will and I started it up in season 30 for Worlds Apart. That was the first time we ever did it. Our first winner was Adam. And yes, Adam Klein. So anybody who's new, Adam Klein won that the first season.
He loves us.
It's really simple, except this season it's not going to be really simple. This season it's going to be a huge pain in the ass. Intern froze with his hands on his face for a good 15 minutes, I think, before we went live, because I told him it's not about where you get voted out this season. It's about like where you quit. So I don't know how they're going to determine it. Are there going to be ties for like 10th place? I have no idea. We're going to go based on where they're sitting at the reunion. And if people are missing, we'll just fill them in like we did Alec and Jeremy last season. So everybody will figure it out. But this Bootlist game is going to be much more interesting than past ones because it's no longer just, hey, Reem's going to get voted out first. It's, could Gavin get voted out in 5th place, but be the first person to actually quit the game? Like, who knows? So this will be really fun. The only place that we accept the entries is in the comments of this video, because otherwise it gets really, really crazy. And now that Intern is paid intern, I'm hoping that means that I won't have to input any of these Bootlists ever again, because last year I spent a really long time doing it because he was doing school work. Like, he's in his senior year.
Furthering his future.
Well, let's be honest, Phil. The reason that I'm doing all the Bootlists is because Miami beat VT in football. Yeah, because I'm paid, but
you should have made a basketball bet, because guess what?
I should have made a basketball bet.
We have like 6 players on our team, and I think 4 of them were called in from the stands. So you could have called.
Actually make a bet on that?
Yeah, we at the Virginia Tech game, or right before it. He wanted it to be a big thing, and we made it a big thing. And Miami, that wasn't even really a game. So Intern's inputting all the Bootlists. So the paid part will be when you're inputting the prop bets in a couple of weeks, because that is hell on earth. And we actually don't have that much time. We are 2 weeks away from the premiere of Survivor Edge of Extinction. That's it.
All right. Well, yeah, I don't know what else. Yeah.
That's exactly it. But anyway, so now that all of that is out of the way, let's start this with Intern's initial reaction to the cast, because we've heard mine and Alexa's and we've heard Davey's. But what's Intern's?
So Intern's reaction. I really like this cast. I saw an article today that they're trying to have more like diversity and more older people in the cast, and I think I see that now, and I really like it because it adds more diversity as opposed to just like someone that's like 25 years old. So I've enjoyed the videos I've seen so far. It seems more diverse. I can't remember the last time there was like a redhead on Survivor, so that's kind of cool.
We decided there hadn't been.
Oh, female one. We were trying to figure out the female ones, and I think people started listing them off. Like, what was it? It was like Shauna from back in Amazon, but like Shauna wasn't really like a redhead. I'm talking like so red it's orange. Like I don't think we've ever had a female who's had hair like that. Lacey was close, but hers was a little bit darker. Like me and Victoria look like we have the exact same hair color. So like I'm counting her as a redhead, and sorry other redheads, but you don't count.
Wait, Phil, you're Patrick, yeah.
Yeah.
But I meant female. That's why we said we had said.
I was like, how did we miss that?
Yeah, Deb Eaton had red hair. See, Deb Eaton's another one. Like that's like pretty much brown, right? Like Deb Eaton's hair is pretty much. Her hair is like auburn. Like it's like auburn. Like if you look at Victoria, you say like that's a redhead. Like it's right there. It's screaming at you.
Right.
So I don't think we've ever had somebody like that where like you admit, because I'm sure there's people who watched that season or Australia. Nobody's going, wow, Deb's a redhead. Like when you see Victoria, you go, wow, she's a redhead. Like it's there. But anyways. So what else were you saying now that we got sidetracked like that?
Yeah, I think it's a good cast so far. There seem to be some pretty interesting people. I don't know. I don't want to talk about like specific people yet because I want to wait until the boot list, but overall it's a good cast.
Okay. Strategic.
Yeah, that's fine. He listened to our cast assessment, I'm sure, and listened to everything we said and is now taking those notes. Well, this is God, I don't even know where to really start with this. This is going to be crazy.
So why don't we let Robert have the honors? Why doesn't he go with his number 18?
Yeah, let's do that first. That sounds great.
Okay. Yeah.
Still, please tweet the link.
So, as we stated before, this season is like incredibly hard to predict. It's guessing, but like also like way more guessing than like you could ever guess before in any Survivor season. I'm going to say that the person that will quit or vote it out and then quit, my 18th place is Julie Rosenberg.
Wow.
Okay. I don't know. She seems to be an older member of the tribe, and I feel like once you get there to Extinction Island first or whatever, you're not really gonna. It's like there's no one here. Might as well quit because maybe you don't know if other people are gonna be there.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know. Like, does everyone else get their own individual island? Also, it's a guess. So,
yeah. Well, what's funny about this is when, like, I have to clear something up because I saw a comment, and I think it's like our top rated comment on our cast assessment is, why does Phil keep on saying all of this? And then only 2 people are actually going to get in the game from Extinction Island. And I had said, like, who does Extinction Island favor and who does it not favor? And I never thought that everybody was going to get in. I'm just saying from a standpoint of who do I think is going to get voted out early and is at an advantage because Extinction Island exists, so their placement in the game will be much better than it should have been, and who is not in an advantage because Extinction Island exists, because maybe they go further in the game, and by the time they're voted out, they're still stuck on an island with somebody like Joe and somebody like, I don't know, other people who are going to be threats. We just know Joe's going to be a threat.
Right.
So that's all I was saying.
Yeah, I also think that, like, while technically you could be voted out first and then just like wait around until the finale and come back and win, it's going to be like so incredibly hard to do that. So like if you get voted out first, it's going to be hard. But if you get voted out like right before like they let everyone back in, you like sleep a night on an Extinction Island and then you're back. So that's like way easier. So I still think that like there is like some ability to predict like where people would be. But in general, it's just you have to like move people around randomly, I guess. So
yeah, and so for me, I'm actually going with Reem. So for the same reasons as you, and I think that Reem could be really like, I think she could be a good Survivor player, but I have the worst feeling about the blue tribe. I think that the yellow tribe is at an advantage, despite the fact that the yellow tribe has more men on the tribe. And I just think like it looks like a physically stronger tribe. Obviously, the blue tribe has the strongest woman in Kelley, and I mean, I think Lauren, she even tweeted that she's been saying that she is an athlete. It's like, how many times can she say that she was a college athlete? So when I look at this though, I still think that tribe has a better chance of losing first, and if they do, then I think somebody like Reem, if they're not going to be able to get rid of David, somebody like Reem is somebody who goes first. And because she hasn't played the game and maybe doesn't have as much of a chip on her shoulder as somebody like David does, I think that like Reem could be the first person to actually quit. So kind of the same reasoning you have for Julie. I just think that she has a better chance of being the first person there. You guys are also distracting the hell out of me with this chat. I'm about to remove it again.
Well, I saw because I asked if you tweeted and then I followed up, so I didn't realize you had removed it.
Yeah, I removed it and then I brought it back, and then when I brought it back, it said that, and now I'm just looking.
Yeah, so Robert has a middle school photo as his Google Hangouts photo. And it's quite great. We'll be posting it on our Instagram later. My number 18, I have Julia and Reem both like in kind of the same realm, but my number 18.
Julie or Julia?
Is she? I thought she was Julia Rosenberg.
There's a Julie, but then you said Julia there.
Yeah, Julia. Oh, did I say Julie?
You said Julia.
Yeah, there's two Julias. They're both Julia.
Let's use last names also. There's Julia Carter and then Julie Rosenberg.
Oh, yeah. I thought Rosenberg was Julia.
No, it's Julie.
I will fix that. Then I meant Julie Rosenberg. But I actually have Wendy at number 18, which is, and I'm basing this a lot, just like basing this a lot on what we're seeing on social media, because we aren't getting the preseason content that we usually do, and that happened with David vs. Goliath, and it's kind of happening the same way here. I also haven't done as much research as I probably should have. But with Wendy, it's really sticking out to me that she hates quitters. And I really feel like they wouldn't be putting that in otherwise. And they're giving us a lot of Wendy content. But from her herself, like I'm seeing Julia Carter interacting with a lot of people. I'm seeing the War Dog guy interacting with a lot of people. Like,
War Dog's winning MVP preseason. That's all I'm saying.
Like all of the returnees are obviously like very involved. And I'm not seeing a lot from Wendy. And I think, unfortunately, and this is what Vaughn, luckily for Lyrsa, incorrectly predicted about her, was that there was maybe a chance that she would stick out. And I fear the same for Wendy. So I see that. And then that's the tribe that I think is probably going to lose early on. And so that automatically puts her and like David and Reem, et cetera, at a disadvantage. But if you're that first person voted out, you're alone for at least 3 nights. And you're dealing with being the first person voted out and dealing with being alone. It's one thing to be like the merge boot, and then you're hanging out with some people, or you're like, okay, I had my footing and I lost it. If you're the first one out, that's just so demoralizing. And so I think that's probably the most difficult like entrance into Extinction Island out there.
Yeah, I think my counter argument to Wendy is that usually in the season preview that they have for like the next season after the finale, usually the people that they show off are like relevant players in the season.
Right.
And so it was Rick and it was Wendy. So I don't think that if, Wendy's going to be like the one-shot wonder of an episode, that she's going to like just get out and like be the first person to quit.
See, I have a counter to that because I have Wendy at 17. So I just wanted to say, I think that the difference here is Wendy could still go like 14th, but as soon as she gets to Extinction Island, be the second person to actually leave the game. So that's why I have her there, because I'm just trying to say, like, the thing, Alexa, you just said, like, it's so demoralizing if you're the first person voted out and you have to go live there alone. But at the same time, if you're the first person voted out and you get to the end of that walkway having no idea that Extinction Island exists, thinking your game's over, and you see that sign, the adrenaline rush is going to be insane. You're going to say, I have a chance to get back at these people. That's amazing. And I think so that's what keeps you going for that first day, that second day, until another person comes. So I think that the first person booted might actually hang out. I think that if you're the second or the third and you've actually had to take the wear and tear of 9 days in Survivor, that's when you might go home. And Wendy could easily be somebody who goes maybe right before the merge and still be somebody who quits once they hit Extinction Island. So I'm going to put her at 17.
Robert, where is your 17? Because that feels like a very good segue from my 18 to his 17.
My 17 is Keith.
Okay.
So I think, unfortunately, I know that minorities tend to get voted out pre-merge. It is, I guess it's like the statistics of it. It's not something I support, but also he's a pre-med student. I don't think he's like extremely like physically capable. So if he's, a challenge detriment, he's going to be voted out. And then being 19, like I don't know how well I would do, and he's younger than me, so I mean, I don't know if the mental fortitude is there for him. But what do you think, Alexa?
I think I was just Instagramming for our Instagram account, but I, which is probably why you guys saw me continually smiling.
Well, I could go if you need me to. Alexa.
No, because I have Keith in a similar spot, and he's someone who I don't have a good read on, because Davey said he's pulling for him, but Davey had like a pretty strong reaction to thinking that he might not do well. And I couldn't really figure out why. And I've always been the person who's like, oh, the young person's never going to do well. And Phil pointed out that they actually have a lot of longevity in the game. Players who are under 21 happen to make it really far. And that's not just Michael Yerger, who's looks like he's 40 or looks like he's 30.
Yeah, 40.
Julius Sokolowski made it super far. And I'm sure I did very far. Like a lot of these players make it far, and it's not something I think a lot of people think about. I'm with you on the maybe physical fortitude. I think he's really smart. And I think I mentioned this in our cast assessment. I think he and Reem will have a good connection. We saw this with Will and Sunday when two people are on the same tribe and they have a really strong religious bond. I think that's a bond that you've seen that throughout Survivor. I think that's a really, really unbreakable one. But past that, there's no one who really sticks out to me as someone who we'd have a pretty strong connection with. And he doesn't seem, I don't know if maybe forthright isn't the right word, but he seems like more of a follower, and maybe that's a good thing early on, but there's something missing, and I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what it is. I have Keith at 15, so I guess I can get there. But I actually have Victoria at my 17. I unfortunately do not have, I'm a little nervous about our fellow redhead.
So you're the Lauren Rimmer of this podcast, huh?
I am I hate redheads, which is
Yeah.
why I have actively podcasted with one for about 3 years now. I think Extinction Island-wise, I don't know what to do with her, but I think she might be one of the first ones voted out of her tribe. She's on the other tribe. So this is taking into account that I keep messing up the names. The Manu tribe will lose first, and then maybe the Kama tribe will lose second. But she seems incredibly strong-willed, which is probably why she went to school in the Bronx. Like, she was either valedictorian or salutatorian, very like successful at a young age, but she is very self-aware in how strong-willed she is and doesn't seem to want to let up on that, which makes me very nervous for her. Okay. I kind of get I don't know if I compared her or someone else to Natalia, but I'm getting somewhat of a Natalia vibe. Okay.
I'm going to jump in because I have so much to say about both of these people you guys just talked about. So first, I want to start with Keith. Alexa, you said you don't know who he's going to have a relationship with. I got one for you, and it's not somebody on the island. He's very religious. God, there you go. And I think if you're voted out early, and I mean this, Intern's already smiling. He's like, dang, I shouldn't have put
No, I know where you're going with this, and I agree with that.
Because funny, Will.
That was a very good segue. I thought you did when he's not on the island. I liked what you did there.
Yeah, so I think what happens is when you have really strong faith in these situations, we saw Davey do it last year where he let that determine what he did when he got to that situation of pick this or pick that. And I think that, normally in Survivor, I don't necessarily think that it helps you. I don't think that having strong religious faith is necessarily going to make you go further, although last season would tell you otherwise, since Nick was like, David versus Goliath, I love the Bible, and that's how I won. But I think in this situation, it can really help, because if you're looking for that strength, a lot of people turn to their faith. And if that's what Keith is going to do, he's still young. He's never going to be in this good of shape for the rest of his life. And yeah, he might be the nerdier guy who's not necessarily the best at challenges, but I could see him really being able to lean back on his faith to hang in the game a little bit longer, even if he doesn't fit in with people. And then the Victoria thing is just wrong. I mean, Victoria is going to hang in, and like you kept saying, strong-willed. When we're looking at Extinction Island, I feel like that's the number one trait you need to survive on Extinction Island. And that's why when I start looking at this cast, I pretty much put it into people who are going to have to be dragged off the island and people who would say, okay, I've had enough. And somebody like War Dog, I'm assuming is going to be dragged off the island. So I'm not going to be putting him anywhere near the bottom. And I think Victoria is somebody who might have to be dragged off this island.
So to me, it's not about the quitting. There's a challenge that if they don't win, they won't get back into the game. So I'm also taking that into account too. I agree with you, especially on like Keith's faith. But I just at some point there's going to be like 10 people sitting on there, and only one's going to go in. So I can't assume that every single strong-willed person is going to get in.
Well, and what's interesting too is that it's supposedly at the merge you can do the challenge to get back in, and then if you don't get back in, you go back. You can go back to Extinction Island, so you can just go back and live on Extinction Island. Like you're not out of the game. It's not. I don't think it restarts.
No, I agree with you, but that's like where like there's going to be possibly 12 people sitting on this island. So how am I supposed to know that Victoria is going to do better or worse than anybody else?
I think what's going to be interesting is Extinction Island, like I still don't know what to make of it, but I think what's going to be interesting is the first time, let's say the first boot is Wendy, right? Like let's say, or not even Wendy, let's say the first boot is David Wright. Okay, so he goes home first. Second boot is Reem, and Reem doesn't go to Extinction Island. She decides, I'm going to go home. And then the third boot is Aurora, let's say, and she decides, I'm not going to go to Extinction Island, I'm going to go home. Now, all of a sudden, David's been on Extinction Island for 9 days alone, and nobody else has joined. So I think where Extinction Island is going to get really, really interesting is when the first person quits and leaves somebody out there either on their own or leaves two people out there. It's just the two of them, because then that is a complete different mentality, because you don't have as many people to lean on, and also like, well, I've now moved up a spot in the game, like because nobody came to join me, so I've moved up at least one spot in the game. So I think that's where it's going to get interesting, is when people actually stop going. And I think that somebody like Victoria should probably stick around in the real game long enough to not be affected by that. Like she might not go to Extinction. She might decide to quit. But I think that she'll stay in the real game long enough that other people are going to quit before she even gets voted out.
Yeah, I guess that's where you and I differ. I guess I don't see her staying in the real game that long.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Intern, do you have anything to say to this?
I was listening to everything and trying to, absorb it all in. So I have like two conflicting viewpoints on Victoria. When I watched her video, I was like very surprised by her, like in a good way. She said she was the valedictorian of her college, and she's, very outdoorsy, and she seemed like a really cool person. I also know that like early on in the casting process, they were like, oh, we want like a redhead or whatever. And then there was a video released today asking each contestant what their favorite season was, and Victoria said Game Changers, and that was a little bit of a turn off for me. So that's making me feel like she might. So well. I know she was, and she was making me feel like she like wasn't necessarily a super fan, and she's someone who has just recently gotten into the show, so maybe she doesn't know like all the Survivor ins and outs that like another super fan would have, which is why I would be worried about her getting voted out like early on.
Are there any other glaring seasons that seemed odd?
Someone else said Game Changers. I don't remember who it was.
Was it Aubry?
It was not Aubry. Aubry said South Pacific because she thought it was like really weird.
Okay. Wow, that's great.
And then Reem said One World because it was funny, and I think that's funny. So
that is funny that happened.
Yeah, she's trolling the Survivor community, which is always a good time. I like when that happens. I haven't watched the favorite season video yet. I saw that it was posted, and I just haven't watched it yet. But I think it's funny like what's happening right now too, and I keep going back to War Dog because he's been so loud. But like how he's pretty much just like trolling old castaways, and then the old castaways are really giving it back to him, which I love. But that he's not backing down, I'm just like, God, I love like when like the newbies are trying so hard to stick their like foot like into like the real like game here and prove like I belong in this community, and the older people are just like, no, get out of here. But this favorite season thing is funny,
right? Except for Johnny Fairplay, who can't handle like. And this, I say this, Johnny, if you're listening, like, we love you. Like, can't handle someone harassing him on Twitter. So the two of them are just going at it so hard. And it's pretty funny to watch. Speaking of Reem, oh no, you go ahead.
Oh, is that your 16?
Yes, that was going to be my segue. Okay. But you have a thought, so I want you to.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I was just going to go to my 16, but yours is more relevant.
So you guys have kind of already touched on her. I think she is another one where I believe that there's a chance of her getting voted out early, and it's for the similar reason as the people who I've listed and people you listed, where unfortunately people are going to see her as someone who sticks out. She does seem super funny, so I'm super excited to watch her. But Extinction Island throws me off with her because she, like Keith, has a real connection with her faith, and so that could keep her for an extended period of time. And she also has children, and I think this is a situation where if we're going to base it off of people who will need to be dragged off versus people who are like, you know what, this isn't my time. I think having kids and having like a husband or a wife or a really, really like driving family force, I think is really going to help her, because so many people are playing for the family and they're playing for the kids, and she like won't want to set the example of quitting in front of her kids on national TV. So that is kind of what makes her a wild card for me.
Yeah, I feel like that can be made for like that argument can be made for literally this entire class. Or this entire cast. Sorry. I feel like this can be made for that argument can be made for like this entire cast, because to get onto Survivor, you need to have like something inside of you that's like competitive, that wants you to get there, even if it's just like the fame. Even if you just want your 15 minutes, there's something to be said about that. I think you get there and you're told the only way you're leaving this game is if you quit, is if you walk off the island. And that's so difficult to judge who's going to be somebody who quits, air quotes, because it's not really a quit, but like, oh, it's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. But we've talked about this, like in the family visit, emotionally as a viewer, it means more to watch like a mother and a daughter, or a father and a son, than it does to like brother and sister. Mm-hmm. So that's the point I'm making. Like it's the kids rather than like the 21-year-old who's on.
Yeah. Well, my 16 is Julie. So I'll say that one now. I can't get a read on Julie. It's kind of the way you feel about Reem. I don't know. Like she could be somebody who goes really, really far, but just part of me is saying, sure, 16th place. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to have a good reason for most of this.
Yeah, same.
So she's 16. And Intern is now the only one who's not at 16. Intern, I don't think we sent you the link here, but it was Intern fell asleep. Nah, he didn't fall asleep. He's just stoic. He is one cold, hard man. Get him.
I was doing research. I was like trying to figure out, like, I didn't have my 16 locked into place, and I was like reading up on people, and now I'm ready. So
I have my nothing locked into place, so you're good.
I'm locking my 16 in with Julia Carter.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah. This is
Talk
someone.
To us.
So I did like the video that I saw of her. I was a little bit feeling weird of how she would connect with other people. I don't know. It was just a weird vibe. And I'm probably going with like the age thing again, and saying like, I don't know how she's going to fare if she gets voted out early, and be able to, have longevity on Extinction Island. She is also a medical assistant, and I know that they do like long crazy hours without food. So, maybe it'll be nothing for her and she'll go on and get like 5th place or something. But like, I don't know. It's half guess, half I had to give an answer, and the final half is, I don't know, it's just guessing again.
People are going to listen to this podcast and be like, these 3 people just sat in a circle for 2 hours and said they don't know what they're talking about.
I feel like, isn't that how the entire Survivor community
always
feels?
how this goes. Yeah. This Bootlist is just even more so like, I don't know.
Like David Wright would be, honestly, David Wright would probably be my 18 if this was a normal season. Maybe my 16, because maybe he could pull something off and then a swap happens and he goes home.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like David, if he gets voted off early, is going to be like, screw that. I almost won it the last time. I'm going to hang out as long as I can. I'm going to try to make something happen. And what was it? The soul vote? Did you guys see that? What he was trying to do with that? That was a thing, right?
Yeah.
That was awesome, where he wants to hide a vote where somebody, it says that it has to be played at tribal council before the votes happen. And what you do is you make it so that nobody else can vote except for you. And you get to pick who goes home. And then when it turns out that that's not real, it's just going to pit that person and the person they wanted voted out completely against each other. And nobody's going to know who hid that ridiculous advantage.
Yeah.
Wait, that's so confusing. How do you make that?
Well, he said he's just going to get the paint and everything from around camp, and he's going to make it.
And he's been practicing like writing in the same way that the survivor advantages would be written. He's been practicing his manuscript, his handwriting to get it perfect. And it's crazy enough that like someone could believe like, yeah, this is an actual survivor advantage that I can use.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool, and I feel like he's going to want to hang out long enough to be able to pull that off because that's going to be epic. And he might never win his way back into the game, which maybe see what I could see happening to David, and I'll get to this later. I could see David hitting the merge, not getting back into the game, and saying, "Forget it, I'm not going to get in." And maybe he says, "I'll stick in just so that I can be on the jury." But I could see him deciding, "I'm not going to be able to get back in over the course of the next 15 days. So what am I doing?" But I think that he's going to want to do that. So that makes this really, really hard. And I think, we are going to say a lot of, we have no idea what we're talking about. So
yeah, the crux of this is assuming people are going to quit after they're voted out. Like we're assuming the worst of all of these people, which like, this is impossible.
Well, my 15 is actually, and this is going to be like crazy to Alexa because we just praised her on the last podcast, but then I have done a little research. I've done a little hunting around, the interwebs here on Twitter and stuff, and just seeing how people are interacting. And I actually have at 15 Aurora. So
what? Oh, okay. We have to talk. Okay, keep going.
Well, my bottom 4 now are women, and after that, I'm going to have a man. So, but actually, after that, I'm just going to say I'm going to have Keith. So even though I made this whole argument for Keith, I think that Keith still does go home kind of early. But I think that it's more of a I'm at peace with what's happened type, like I'm going home. So I don't know. The thing with Aurora is I was really, really high on her. I think she's like a trip. Like I thought I was like, okay, she's good looking. She's athletic. She's smart. Like she's a triple threat. What more could you want? But for some reason, she hasn't been the most positive on on Twitter and stuff, on social media. And I got so much crap. Like we got kind of a lot of crap in the comments for like saying how much we like Aurora. So that's why I kind of went and started looking at it. And I was like, maybe the fans are right on this one. So I have Aurora really, really far down. Despite the fact that if you would have asked me on Friday night, I would have said, sure, I'll put her in my top like 6 or 7.
I completely agree with you. I have her much higher, but it actually very much matches with what you're saying. So I'll get to her later, but I agree with you. We came in like she was like our person who we were super into, and like upon further review, I very much see the other side of it. But Intern, you have a lot to say, so I'm going to give it to you.
Okay. So let's get started. So one, I started off low on her. I thought she was just going to be like the, like the pretty girl that got cast, right? But you watch her video and she's like fun to hang around with. It's not like she's not boring. She's not like overly like excited about everything. She's a divorce lawyer. In the video that she had, she said that she literally deals with like people that want to like almost literally kill each other. So I think that she will be able to make it far enough in the game. And she's 32. She doesn't look 32, but her hobbies are also like, right. Her hobbies are also like athletic stuff. So she'll probably be able to hold her own in challenges. I think she'll be able to make it far enough into the game, where if she does get voted out and go to Extinction Island, she'll have to stay there for like 3 or 4 days, and then she'll come back into the game.
You could very well be right. I'm just going under the assumption of there's always somebody that I'm completely wrong on. And I think Aurora is going to be that person for some, like she's getting that unfortunate title here because there's always someone who the game is too much for, who's not expecting it to be too much for them, but then it is. And I don't know if it actually is going to be Aurora, but that's who I'm pinning it on.
Also, to your social media point, Nick Wilson from last season was like very much not so on like Instagram or Twitter or anything. And he won. So I don't think that's necessarily I mean, I think there's a difference between like, someone that, that looks like Aurora versus someone who like grew up in Kentucky. There's probably like a societal difference there, but I don't think that in this case that's a good basis for it. So
okay.
I get both points. I have Aurora probably a lot closer to where Robert has her, but
who's Robert?
I don't know,
what?
some guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's hiding over there. Yeah. But like essentially, she's either going to be the first person voted out, or she's going to make final try. But like, I see her in two very extremes. I don't know where anyone else is, so I'm gonna. My 15 is Keith. So we like made all these defenses of him, and it sounds like we all put him pretty low. I go Keith 15 and Julie Rosenberg at 14. And we've kind of talked them both to death, but with Julie, I'm not seeing anyone who specifically sticks out as like a connection to her. I think did she mention being athletic? Maybe not.
She was the toy maker. That's about all I got.
But she's a toy maker, which is awesome. The main thing that sticks out to me with her is that she compared herself to Dawn as being emotional, and like Dawn as a strategist is one thing, but if she's going to compare herself from the emotional side, that makes me really nervous for her on Extinction Island. And I hope I'm wrong about her, Julie, if you're listening.
Yeah. Intern, you're now 2 behind. We took over.
Right.
We made it all about us. So now you have your moment.
So my 15, right? Yeah, 15 is Victoria. I did get positive vibes from her, but I think 15 would be where they swap, and maybe if she isn't able to make connections, she would get voted out. And then, doesn't have the will to continue on into the game, deeper into the game. So I'm going to put her at 15. I think you guys have made your points about her, though.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about her way later,
Yeah.
She'll be hanging out with Aurora in ours.
Yeah. And who you got at 14?
14, I have Ron.
What?
Wow. Why do you have Ron so low? And I might still have Ron low. I'm just wondering why you.
Yeah, but we are confused.
So so from his video, it seems like I feel like he seems like he's a little out of touch with Survivor strategy, and I totally want him to prove me wrong and just like do something crazy and like, get out, like blindside Aubry and David back to back, because that'd be sick. But like, it seems like he's not going to be able to connect. One of his 3 words to describe him is mean girl, and I don't know if like being a mean girl is good socially for Survivor strategy. I also feel like he either could annoy or get annoyed by other people if he were to get voted out, and that he could just be like, he'd be like, oh, I'm gonna go to Extinction Island, and then he gets there and he's like, just kidding, I still hate everyone, and then like peace out. So
yeah, he is interesting because I was looking to see if anyone here was from Atlanta, because I think anyone from Atlanta would probably recognize him. I mean, Davey was like, he has done wonders for this city.
Really?
So
that's awesome.
He is recognizable to a certain group. But his self-description is super odd, because he mentions Mean Girl and he mentions multiple times that he could be a villain. And there is nothing on this guy's resume that looks villainous. So you're right. I think that there's something we are missing with him, because we're getting like Mr. Perfect from him.
Yeah, it's weird with Ron. I don't know. I feel like if there's going to be one of these stronger guys, and so we've all kind of put Keith as the weakest or like the most likely to go out early. And with Ron, I had said this on the last podcast, I didn't know how I felt about him being on this season, because like, I love the older guys. I love Gary. I love Brendan. Like, those are I think that there should be one of those on every season. I think that that's still a good character, despite the fact that some people think it's boring. I think that it does help, like, my dad to relate to somebody while he's watching the show. And I think a lot of the time, those characters are like almost so normal that it helps bring out the crazy of some of the other characters. But with Ron, he's done so much. And yes, he says that he's a sore loser and that like if he loses Monopoly, he'll stew about it for hours. But at what point does he say that's enough? I've had enough. Like, I'm fine with this. Like, this is good enough for me. Because he's done so much, and he's done, what more does he need to do? Is he going to come out? Like Jeff Kent, I have no doubt would have sat on that island for the next 20 days in the Philippines. He would have just sat there, not giving a crap, and said, I'm going to try to get my way back in this game. I don't care. But he was also like an athlete. Is Ron going to do that because Ron is very successful at what he's done? Is he going to want to stick out Extinction Island for possibly 20 days if it calls for it, or is he going to say, nah, I've been here for 3 days and that's enough?
I have a lot of questions. Not about Ron. This is like getting about Extinction Island. But I do agree with you though, because he is so successful at what he has done, but will that translate to like being physically deprived for God knows how long, and not just on the island, assuming he makes it to Extinction Island? I think we're kind of past the point where people are voting others out because they have a lot of money or because they have like a good outside of the game resume. So I don't think anyone will hold that against him. And also like what he's done is so good. It's not like he's like a lawyer, which people always assumes is a bad thing. So when this first person gets in at the merge, one person returns. Do the others who lose go home or do they hang?
They can do whatever they want.
So then we're at the final, let's say the person returns at the final 5. We're at the final 5. Joe wins. He gets back in. How does everybody else like stack going home?
They're probably going to do a challenge at Final 5 that is very similar to what they did in Redemption Island the first time, where it's you outlast everybody, because it was Matt, Mike, Andrea, and I forget who the other one was, but the 4 of them all stood with like their foot on that thing, and they were balancing the vase. And like Matt was the first one to drop, so he was 8th place. And the next person to drop was 7th. The next person to drop was 6th. Andrea got back in the game, got voted out immediately after, and was 5th. And then Ashley was 4th. Forget who was the other person. Why can't I remember who it was?
Grant.
That's who it was. It was Grant. Grant.
Yeah.
That's why I couldn't remember who it was. It was Grant.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But he was either 6th or 7th. So it was as you dropped, that's how it was determined your order.
Oh, okay. Then that very much changed my boot list. I thought everyone went home when they lost at the merge.
No, and that's why I think it's really interesting.
Okay. That very much changes what I'm supposed to do. Go on.
Because let's say that War Dog is as loud and obnoxious a personality, and I mean this in a positive way.
Yeah, he's gonna be Joe.
Yeah, let's say he's Joe Mena, who, like, I can't say enough good things about Joe Mena. But let's say he's Joe Mena on this season and he gets voted out where Alan got voted out. There's no way he's going home. And even if he loses the merge challenge, he's still going to try to cause as much havoc as he can on Extinction Island. So it makes it really hard when you start getting down to this and say, who's going to be the first person to say, screw it, I'm done? Like, this makes it so hard. And also, like, I've been a huge fan my entire life. Alexa's been a huge fan her entire life. Intern's an intern for a podcast that makes no money because he's been a fan his entire life. And the reason, like, how could you possibly, Intern, if you're the first person voted out of the game and you find out that you have a chance to stay in the game for as long as you want, how do you ever justify leaving this game to yourself?
Like taking the choice to leave, or like going into Extinction Island and then...
Like, if you are the first person voted out on day 3, and you find out that you could stay on Extinction Island until day 36, how do you ever justify leaving and not staying?
I think so. The argument that I'm going to make later for some people is that eventually, like, if what they're saying is true, is if what Matt Van Wagenen and Jeff Probst are saying are true, that it's going to be like a physical toll. We want to push the survival aspect of this to like the limit. I think at some point you're just going to be like, I literally, like, it's not even like, oh, I'm survivor starving and I get like, a bowl of rice or a small bowl of rice every day. It's just, I literally haven't had any food. I think at some point, like, you're just going to give up. Like, it's going to be like advanced survivor.
Would it be great, like, if, like, not great, but like, if I went out there, I'd like to think like I would literally just like die on the island and they would just drag me off, like, by my shoes. Like, all right, Phil.
Oh, but you got 5th place. Don't worry. Like, it's okay.
Yeah, you got 5th place. Your family will get the check if we decide to send it. But
yeah,
death.
That's, I guess that's the point that like that like throws me off too, because now it's not even about willpower anymore. Like, to Robert's point, it's about, like, can your body sustain this? And someone who's like people who are skinny, like, and small, like Lauren and Julia and Julie, how can I possibly assume that they're going to last longer than Chris and Eric and War Dog?
Well, and that
something else is that Extinction Island, if you're there with a bunch of other people and like you aren't voting each other out and you're trying to get the other person to quit, like are you going to try to intimidate other people? Is War Dog going to try to be annoying to make other people
Probably
think like I just don't want to be with this guy anymore. I don't care. I'm see you later, because you can't vote each other out.
I know. That's the crazy part about it. I'm really curious to see how this is going to work out. I think there's definitely like perks to this idea because it's making us think so much more, but it's like you're changing up the basics of the game so much that's what's making everybody say, what the hell is going on? So now at 13, I got David, because
that's exactly where I have David.
Yeah, because just what you just said, Intern. If you get out there and you're absolutely starving, right? And David is really small, like, he's a really small guy, and he's probably going to be voted out early because he struck such a strategic threat. And I'm hoping he doesn't go early, because like I would love nothing more. Out of all of the returnees, David's the one I would like to see win the most, because it's his second time playing. The first time he played a fantastic game, came down to him and Adam. Like I would love to see David win Survivor. So I'd love to see him hang around for a long time. And this is the best chance he's going to have, I think, because he can hang around. But the reason I have him at 13 is because let's say he gets voted out pre-merge. He gets to go to Extinction Island, which he will do. I think he will go to Extinction Island. He goes to Extinction Island, and now they have a challenge, and he loses the challenge. And Jeff says you can either go back to Extinction Island and make the jury, or you can go home. Everybody's going to want to make the jury, so everybody will say, I'll go back to Extinction Island. And I feel like as soon as David gets back there, he's going to raise the white flag, because what's the point if he doesn't think he can actually win a challenge to get back into the game? And like, I've met David, and I think that his personality is one it's very self-deprecating, as we saw a lot in Millennials vs. Gen X. And I think that he would say to himself, I'm not going to win this shit. So why am I going to do this to myself? Why am I going to starve myself? I will go hang out in Ponderosa for the next 15 days, 20 days, whatever it is, and I'll have a great time. And I wasn't going to make it anyway, but at least I'm on the jury and I made it that far. And if he were to play a third time, that also doesn't make him look too bad, because it's like, look, he kind of just walked away from it when he had a chance to stick around. So that's why I got him like right at 13.
I have him at 13 too, and it's also very much because of the challenge. I thought that people went home, so I purposely timed him up around merge time. But that still stands. And this is, I feel like we have waffled even just so much in the 23 minutes we've been live with like the quitting versus staying versus like, do you want it versus are you starving? And to be honest, people can call me like a terrible super fan for this. If I'm sitting there for like 20 days and I know that I'm sitting next to someone like Joe who's going to kick my ass in a challenge, I'd be like, fuck this too. Like,
Whoa.
it's just a way. It just seems like, for lack of a better term, it would seem like a waste of time at some point. So if it's quitting because they're just like sick of being here, then that's one thing. But if it's just saying, like, this is a gigantic waste of time, I'm starving myself for really no other reason because I know I can't win this, I get it. I completely get it. But
yeah, I think that's a great point you just said with Joe. And I think that there's certain people who will say, I'm never going to beat him anyway, so what's the point? But then there's going to be people like War Dog who are going to say, I'm going to take him down. So I think that somebody like that will stick around. But yeah, somebody like Dave is going to be like, what am I going to beat Joe in at the end of the day?
And David's smart, and that's not going to make him a quitter. And that's not, if anybody uses that kind of logic, I can't disagree with them. I would probably do the same thing.
Yeah.
So there, I have David as obviously the first returnee to go. But yeah.
So my 13, if we're ready to move on.
We are.
Ooh.
My 13 is Reem. Now, I want to say I love Reem. The first 2 minutes of her video, I was like, she's gonna get on people's nerves. And then the rest of the video, I was like, this person is amazing, and I would love to hang out with her in real life. I feel like people on the island, after however long, are gonna get like sick and tired of her, unfortunately, and then she'll get voted off and be like, I still hate these people. Adios, see you later. So keep her around for 13. People will like her at the beginning, get more annoyed with her, and then she'll peace out. So
yeah, and I think that's fair. I mean, she does have a good personality, but we've seen people with good personalities, go home really, really early. Like, look at all of Ghost Island. So it makes it, I mean, it's always, It's always hard anyway, and then adding its element makes it even harder. Alexa, who is your next person? I'm currently creating a sample boot list into the description here because so many people are like asking how you do it, and I forgot that like we're probably getting a lot of new people. So yeah, I just entered a sample boot list. It's 18-1, entered exactly like I did it in that description. And do it on this video, but you can't do it in the live chat here because the live chat goes away. So anybody who's only doing it there, I see some people doing it, and I'm not going to remember it. And also, like,
well, someone just put in the live chat what I believe is their attempt at a spoiler. That's why I just deleted it.
Oh, did you? I don't even see that, but I see the one person who said like 38 boot order, 1 equals first voted off, and then it's like number 1, and I'm like, that's not how you want to enter this. You would start it at number 18. Who's your number 18? But anyway, all right. So that was Reem. Alexa, who's your number 12?
My number 12 is Julia Carter, and it was actually originally somebody else, but I moved Julia down here. I don't have a good sense of her if I'm going to base it off of social media. She has been extremely active and like very, very interactive with fans. So that, I mean, I can only look into that so much. She has a very like calming demeanor to her, which makes me think that people are going to like her. So I think she will last long in the real game. But I think come Purgatory, she seems pretty smart. And actually, Robert made a really good point about her like going a very long time in her real job without eating or sleeping or having time to think. So I think that would work to her advantage. But she just doesn't strike me as someone who would like not see the value in Extinction Island, but I think she would have the attitude that I've just kind of talked about of being like, you know what, I don't really see the point of this. But I think game-wise, she lasts a while. So I think she makes it to the merge because I think she'll be fine in challenges. I think she'll get along with everybody. And then I think coming Extinction Island, she'll just not be about it. I could be super wrong, and hopefully I am.
Yeah, I still haven't used her yet, and I know that Intern already has. My 12 is Rick, and this goes against all of. And yeah, Intern just like lost his mind because he was in the preview. He was in the preview.
You're big on the preview.
Intern.
I mean, Ryan Ulrich was in the preview. I'm sure you can.
So was
Whitney Duncan.
So was Desi from Heroes, Healers, Hustlers.
So they make the merge. That's pretty good.
Well, guess what? I got Rick making the merge, man.
Yeah, I'm saying like that's beyond that point. You know, I have other reasons for Rick. So
yeah, I think Rick's a huge fan and everything. But
that's because he's from Blacksburg.
Hey,
Don't you pretend?
You can't get to my point. You have to save that for my big reveal.
Sorry,
hold on.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
sorry,
redacted. Alexa's now been muted. I think I can do that. Actually,
I'm leaving.
Alexa, speak. Say something.
Oh, she can't.
No, she is speaking, but nothing's coming out. Okay, now actually, let's make sure that
I was not speaking. Phil was trying to make you think I cared.
Oh, yeah, you can see when it's muted. That's right.
Come on.
That's not fair. Okay, anyway.
Nice try, though.
Well, all the people who are listening, she was definitely trying to speak. If you're not watching, she was like screaming at the top of her lungs. It was crazy. But anyway, yeah, the thing with Rick is I think he's a big fan, but we could hit a point where the last 12 people in the game are like 8 of them or 7 of them, I guess, because they would stop it at 5 so they can do the fire making challenge. From 5th to 12th could all be on Extinction Island at one point. Because you know that it's right there. And you probably are thinking, hey, I've made enough impact in this game that I could probably pull it off. So I could see Rick hanging around, but like I also could see Rick losing that challenge, like getting last place in the challenge. So if that's going to be the case, I'll put Rick at 12. And I think that like Rick's ceiling is something like 8th place. I really do. All right, Intern, you got like this. You won't even.
You have a lot to say.
I'm gonna leave my Rick comments for where I'm putting Rick. However, my 12th place is David for what we said earlier. So.
Okay. So what numbers everyone at?
Everybody just did 12. Although I just accidentally backspaced Intern's 13. Intern, remind me.
My 13 was Reem.
Reem, that's right. Okay, cool. So we're up to 11.
Okay.
Is anybody like jumping at the bit here?
I will go because it's probably extremely incorrect, and I might get some shit for it. I have Aubry at 11, and this I know, yes. This has nothing to do with how I feel about her because I think she's awesome. I think in terms of real game, I wrote down she's going to be a unanimous I'm gonna swear a lot. OSHIT vote. Like I think she'll do fine in the like tribal phase, and then I think she'll get to the merge. People will vote out whoever comes back, and like Aubry doesn't have any attention on her, and then all of a sudden people are gonna be like, oh crap, like Aubry's still here. Or on the flip side, she gets voted out super early, hangs around Extinction Island for a while because her whole thing, like her whole mantra is, I can't have my Survivor's legacy end the way that Game Changers ended. So when she's on Extinction Island, she's going to hang for a while. I'm just now going back to the challenge part of Extinction Island. So let's say she's the first person voted out. She hangs there for like 2 or 3 weeks. Totally can see that happening. And then maybe she's like one of the first people to lose in the challenge.
Yeah, I could see that. I actually have Victoria at 11. So, like, even though I gave you guys a really hard time, I have Victoria still, like, not in the top 10. But I have her at 11 because of kind of what you – I don't know. I just feel like Victoria will hang out for a little bit. I could see her – okay, so I guess Alina had red hair because Victoria kind of reminds me of Alina anyway, that's a compliment. I know that doesn't sound like one, but, God, that's a compliment.
No, Alina was cute.
I don't even mean like that. It's just like if you're thinking of like her gameplay, like Alina's a compliment because
yes, the dirt squirrel.
Yeah, the dirt squirrel. Which intern, maybe you can elaborate on that. No,
I got nothing.
That's not something that you call people.
Yeah,
nope, not regularly.
No, really, not even at Virginia Tech. Okay, I figured you just ran around screaming that. But anyway, I have Victoria. I don't see, like, the thing is, I don't really ever see Victoria winning this game. I don't like. She's probably one of my least likely to actually win, but I could see her getting in close with somebody. I think she starts on the stronger of the tribes. I don't think that she'll be seen as all that threatening if there's a tribe swap. And I could see her hanging around for a little bit and maybe being somebody who gets booted in that Alina spot, which I think Alina was 13 or 12. I forget what the merge was there. It doesn't matter. It's just garbage. And she gets booted in that spot and then decides, like, I'm not going to go to Extinction Island. I'm going to Ponderosa. I'm out of here. So that's why I have her there. And it's really weird that what I have here is, like, what I have left is big buff guys.
Yeah.
Kelley, Aubry, and Lauren. Like, it's like all the strongest guys, and then Kelley, because I think she's the strongest girl. Aubry, because I think she's the most mentally tough girl out of all of this. Oh, I also have Julia Carter still left. But I also have Aubry there, and then I have Lauren, because you might not know this, but she was a college athlete. She said that a lot, so that was
she did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the joke.
It's weird because what I'm trying not to do is, like, I don't think that this is going to affect the game so much that there's not going to be any women left at the end of the game. It's just that if I'm looking at who thinks they can take down Joe, if Joe gets voted out at the merge, or if Joe gets voted out pre-merge before they even know that Extinction Island exists, the people who are going to be the most stubborn to try to take him down, I feel like, are the men. And I think what could happen is you get somebody like Lauren, who doesn't get voted off until maybe 6th place, who's only on Extinction Island for a day, goes out there and actually is the one to take down Joe. Because remember, it was Andrea who took down Matt Elrod, Mike, and Grant. Grant was a pro athlete. Mike was a Marine, I believe. And Matt Elrod had won every single challenge. And Andrea took them down because at that point, those challenges aren't necessarily who's the strongest person. And so all these big buff guys might be trying to take down Joe. And instead it turns into Lauren takes her out, or Kelley Wentworth takes him out, or maybe even Aubry pulls something out because it's maybe puzzle related. Like, who knows? But that's why this is what I'm left with at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I can't be the only person who has a sentiment, but like this Extinction Island is certainly made for the Joes of Survivor. And so therefore, like, I have a bunch of like big, strong guys and a couple of girls on it too. But I'm with you. Like that final challenge, like your first merge challenge is usually something balance oriented. So it very well could be, I mean, Lauren and Kelley are the only two females I have left. So it could be one of them to take them down. But yeah, when I was, sorry, you got
another way to make it further in Extinction Island is just to get voted out later. And so if you are a smart, savvy young girl who's able to, you know, manipulate or build strong bonds on your way to, you know, being later in the game, then you don't have to be a big, strong, burly guy that needs to go fish to survive on Extinction Island. So I still have a mix of people left.
Oh,
That's good.
You know what it is?
I
You're
was way
better
too
than us.
extreme. You're probably way better than us. You and Vaughn should do your own podcast.
Oh, I don't know what the opposite of Survivor Specialist would be. That still is like
Special
geniuses.
The Survivor geniuses.
Big Brother specialists.
With
I
Vaughn
like
and Robert.
The Survivor Dumbos. Like, I don't know. Like, well, I'm trying to think. What's the opposite of specialist? Like, specialist is like the best you can. Philip Shepard gave us the entire rundown of like what a specialist is, and it was unbelievable. So the opposite like could really be anything because a specialist is specialized.
A generalist, I guess.
Yeah,
that's Survivor generalists.
I like that. I like that.
Vaughn and Robert.
That's better. That's
kind
better.
of like Vaughn and Robert sounds really good too. All right. Ooh. Before we derail our own podcast and give you guys too much, where are we?
Vaughn's got it, or Vaughn. Now I'm calling him Vaughn. Intern, you're great, but you're not Vaughn. Who's your number 11?
My number 11 is Wendy.
Wow.
For I don't know which one of you guys put her down.
I
earlier.
did. I did
too.
Oh, so both of you, cool. Yeah, I think Wendy. I think it will be harder for her to stay on Extinction Island, and so, maybe if she gets voted out earlier for being weaker, then she's not going to have the physical fortitude to make it that far. So, 11th place. This might be
I think that's fair. And going based on that preview thing, I think like that's probably smarter than where Alexa and I put her. But I can't see past like my own bias with Survivor, and I put Lyrsa really low last year too, and then she finished 14th and or 13th, 14th. And like, so I think I only got 4 points because I put her at 18. I put Alec and Kara behind her. So I got 4 points from Lyrsa, which was like good. Like that's what you want to get in these bootlist games. Like if you can get 4 points. And like, I don't really see Wendy getting any higher than something like 11th place. Like I think you put her on the high end of her finish. And if that's the case, like I get 6 points and that's okay. I'll take that. And I've also never even come close to winning a bootlist game. So whatever.
Yeah, Robert, you did I think you did really well in this one last season. Or maybe one of them you like kicked their butts in.
Yeah. I mean, I beat you guys in both of them, but who's counting?
Yes, necessary to clarify.
Because he input his 3 weeks after the show started, right?
Yeah, I mean, I also inputted everyone else's, so it's fair.
No, don't know. Well, we can get on a fight on air if you want to right now. I'm ready to brawl. My number 10, I have Gavin.
That's where I have Gavin too.
I also have Gavin at 10.
There it is.
This is perfect. Why?
Yes.
I never thought that would happen for any of the players, and
I know for weird. 3 of us. Look at this. So okay, Phil, you go first because you mentioned him, and then we'll follow.
No, I want Intern to go first because everybody's already heard our take on Gavin.
Oh, geez. I don't know. I just not super impressed with him. I think he's like likable enough and physical enough to like make it kind of far. But then people will be like, maybe he's a threat to win. Maybe gets like on the wrong side of an alliance or something and gets voted out. So no good reason. I just didn't feel like he was going to be any higher. So.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I did. I didn't know what to do with him. I don't see him winning, and I don't see him being one of the first couple people voted out. So I just put him right smack in the middle. And so, what to me, out of the guys that I left with Chris, Eric, War Dog, Joe, and I have Ron still, but with out of those guys, I see Gavin being the one like probably most likely to be like, I'm done. Like, so I don't know, but I don't see him playing a great game and making it to Final Four without ever having been voted out. Like there's a couple people that I could pull that off, and I don't think he's going to be one of them. So that's why I put him at 10.
Yeah, I'm with you guys, and I feel bad that we're just like, he seems perfectly adequate, which is why we're putting him there. But I think I can't tell if his fellow castaways are either going to love him or really not vibe with him. Because I can get a Bradley vibe from him, or I can get a like we're all buddy vibe from him. And I think like it's up to him which way that goes. So in terms of him getting voted out, I wouldn't be surprised if he was voted out pre-merge. But then at the same time, I could see him lasting really long and then just losing early in that challenge. But he's not striking me as the winner. And he's not striking me as someone who like totally sticks out and being ostracized.
What's going to be interesting about this, too, that nobody's really talked about is if there is a Matt Elrod situation where somebody wins that challenge, gets in, and gets voted out right away, they're probably much more likely to hang around because they've already proven that they could win their way back in once. So, like, I think that Gavin could be somebody who gets voted out pretty close to the merge, wins that first challenge, gets back in the game, gets voted out at 10, and then maybe sticks around, which means that we'd all be wrong. But if he does end up finishing 10th, then we all read some spoiler that we didn't even know existed, because that's crazy that we all just had Gavin at 10.
Yeah, you bring up a good point with the Matt Elrod stuff, because like on top of that, let's say someone's voted out super early and then they get into the merge, they don't know anybody. Like they have no connections. These people voted them out for a reason. And even if they're voted out like 6 and then they come back in 5th place, they're going to be pissed at the people who just voted them out. So you're at a disadvantage if you come back in, I think.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. Well, you could be at a disadvantage to actually stay in the game, but I think if you ever go back to Extinction Island, you're feeling good about yourself. Also, we didn't talk about this when we talked about David, but David is somebody, once you know that Extinction Island exists, I think he becomes less threatening because you're not scared of him winning a challenge. And so you might try to vote out some of these stronger guys to weaken them by the time they actually get to the Final Four, in case you ever go to Extinction Island. So you still might vote Joe out at 13 in hopes that he'll go to Extinction Island and get so weak that he just quits anyway. Whereas somebody like David, you don't need to weaken him any more than he is, because didn't he finish last place in the Final Four challenge of Survivor Millennials vs. Gen X? Like, he was last, wasn't he? Pretty much.
I don't remember.
Sure.
Well, the one where he was stacking things, and Adams was just always stacked a little bit higher than David's. I think David's fell over. I mean, Ken won, and Adam was still ahead of David. So, like, David is somebody who could become very dangerous if he somehow doesn't get voted off pre-merge, and I just wanted to throw that out there.
So do you guys think that Extinction Island is going to bring back people once before the merge and then once before the finale, or is it just going to be like all the way through to the finale?
I'm thinking it might be final 5 or 6.
Because if they don't bring someone back before the merge and they just bring someone back at the finale, I don't know how your argument works where like they know about Extinction Island.
No, they find out about Extinction Island at the merge. That's the first time people can come in.
Okay. I see.
That like came out. I think Inside Survivor posted that. So the first come back in is that.
Gotcha.
I think it's the merge and 5 or 6, so therefore the finale. I have to imagine the last person comes in at the finale. That feels like that would fit in with like what they want TV wise.
It's Edge of Extinction, and to have the finale without Extinction Island would seem crazy. So I think that'll be the first thing that happens in the finale is the last challenge. That's what happened with Redemption Island too. That was the first thing that happened.
Yeah.
My number 9 is Ron, which maybe you and I have similar, Alexa.
That's where I have Ron.
Yeah, I kind of had a feeling that was going to happen. I don't know. I think that Ron could. I don't know. I have no idea. Alexa, go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of at the point where like I have my final 5/6, and everyone else is kind of random. I think. I mean, I'm really kind of BSing here, but he's got a big personality, but he's got the Southern charm thing. Like, I just don't know if people are going to love him or hate him. I can't imagine anyone's going to hate him. I think he's going to want to be a villain, but he's not a natural villain. He seems to be quite the opposite. So I think voting wise, he could very well go out pre-merge. I wouldn't be surprised. Someone could figure out who he is and say, let's get this guy out of here. Like, he's too perfect. Or he could antagonize a lot of people with his extremely competitive nature. Extinction Island wise, he seems like someone who'd be like, this doesn't seem worth it. I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm. And when I look at this now, the 8 that I have left are the last 8 people that I really do think will be in the game. Like, I don't think that we're going to get more than, if they come in at final 5, I don't think we're going to get more than 6, 7, and 8 in this last challenge. I think we'll get 3 people, maybe 4 if the other person is Joe. So now I'm hitting the point where I think that this is your like final challenge. I don't know if they're coming in at 5 or 6. So, but I think that this is your final Extinction Island challenge finish order. And then like, who will be like the final 5 when there is no more Extinction Island? Who will be the person who loses at fire? And then ultimately what'll happen in the final 3. So I just wanted to throw that out there too. Ron was my last person where I don't see him being in the last Extinction Island challenge. Or being around when that's going on.
Robert, what are your thoughts?
I have on Ron or of my number 9.
Your number 9.
My number 9, I have Chris. I think he is. I think he's a physical threat. I think he's gonna get voted around like like just before the merge or just after the merge for like losing a challenge or something, and they're like, we got to get this guy out now before he goes on an immunity run. From his video, it seemed like he seemed like he was going to be like disconnected from people and not emotionally available. He seemed like he just wanted to be able to like manipulate people, and I don't know if that's the best for creating bonds that will like take you further into the game. And I think that he'll go on the island and then not be able to handle it, and then he'll leave at around 9th. So
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I have Chris at number 8, so I'm pretty right there with you. I think he's going to be that like loses the merge challenge or loses that second challenge, and everyone's like, this guy is a tank. We've got to vote him out right now.
Yeah.
I have him at 7, so not much higher. I just have him beating one person in this challenge. But, I think that it does come down to like, yeah, he's a strong physical guy, or at least he looks that way, and he might be able to hang out for a little bit. They're going to keep him on the tribe early, and then when he goes home, how long is he going to want to stay on Extinction Island? I don't know if he has like, and I haven't really watched any of the videos. I'm being totally honest, but I don't know if he has the desire to like win Survivor as badly as some of the other people. And I think he's doing like well. So I think that he would be okay with like walking out of the game when he walks out of the game. My number 8 is Aubry. And I don't necessarily think she gets voted out in 8th. I think she probably gets voted out a little bit later, but then she goes to this challenge and doesn't do well in the challenge or loses the challenge, because early on in the game, the ex-survivors have a great advantage over the newbies in terms of how challenges work and like how much easier they are for them. But I think at this point in the game, everybody will have started to figure it out. And I think that the people who are left, or at least who I think are going to be left, will be able to beat Aubry unless it's a straight puzzle, which I don't think it'll necessarily be a straight puzzle for the last thing, because they need to do an order so that people can get out of the game and sit, get their money that they earned from getting 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, whatever the hell is left. So that's why I think Chris just beats Aubry and ends up there. So yeah.
Out of the 4 returnees, I think Aubry is in the best position because people are going to be looking at her Game Changers game and not her co-wrong game. And not that she did poorly in Game Changers, but I think she would admit this too. Like there wasn't as much to it as her co-wrong game, and people are going to look at David and say he had his big coming out party. Kelley had her big coming out party. Joe was nicknamed Joey Amazing like the second he walked on. Aubry has that advantage of not like being so obvious.
Yeah, but I think that most people remember Aubry because she lost to Michelle, which happened in co-op. Most people are remembering that game more because I'm sure there's people who have forgotten that she even played Game Changers before they went on the season, because she's such a small part of that season, which is insane that you would make somebody such a small part of that season and then bring them back for a third time a couple seasons later, when you could have made them such a bigger character that second time so that that didn't happen. So they weren't like almost forgotten from that season, especially when nobody else really got that great of an edit either. So I don't know. That's just where I stand on that. But I do think that, I think that she could have trouble in the challenge near the end. Although she is a really good swimmer, which like we haven't really talked about. I think she was like really good at swimming in Game Changers, but I don't see any of the Extinction Island challenges being like really big swimming based things, unless they go for back-to-back epic challenges where like normally what's their final 4 challenge is also their final 8 or 9 challenge, where it's really epic and it's the last Extinction Island challenge and you bring people in. But now I'm way ahead of Intern. So,
all right. So my number 8, I have Eric, and I think I saw Eric's video, and I love this guy so much. Eric's like,
awesome.
I think so. I think he's likable, and he's doing like the Mike White thing, but without like the con of like being like famous and rich already. He's just like I'm just here to have fun. We'll see what happens. That's okay. I don't care if I get voted out. I just want to have the adventure. But he's actually gonna like that. That's gonna help him go really far in the game. He seems like he's a really big physical threat. And I think they're just at some point they're gonna be like this guy is like so amazing and so cool. And if he gets even close to the end, he's gonna win. So we have to get him out now. So I think he's gonna get voted out and like pretty soon after maybe leave it the Extinction Island.
I actually think Eric is going to do better than that. I think Eric, I don't really know how to put that any other way. I just think that Eric Eric seems obvious. Like I said, is that who we said seems obvious on the cast assessment, or is there somebody else we said seems
he's obvious, and I have him winning, so that's where I have that
Ooh,
happening.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie to you, intern. I might also have him winning, and now that Alexa said that out loud, I might change my mind. But okay, so here's what I'm sensing, and I'm looking way too into this, but what else can we do when we're doing these preseason things?
Yeah, we don't know what the hell we're talking about.
War Dog is so stoked right now, right? Like he is so excited to let people know that he's on this season. I think he is going to be the person who takes down Joey Amazing on Extinction Island. Joey Amazing goes out at 6th place. War Dog gets back in the game, and what do? They turn around and just vote him out again. But I think that he's really stoked right now because he's going to be somebody who takes down like the big challenge beast and beats him and gets him out of the game. So there's my spoilers. Now I'm even further ahead. I don't know how that helps. But I have Joe and then War Dog 6-5 because I don't think that Joe actually is going to win his way back in, even though on the cast assessment I kept saying Joe was going to win. I have Joe at 6 and War Dog at 5.
So Robert, even though we both just had him like pretty much winning,
right?
All of like everything you said is why I have him there and I like usually stray away from like the perfect one, and I'll talk about him like as I get higher up. But as obvious as he is, there's also plenty of people he could hide behind. But I would not be surprised if he went out like in this early merge section because he is so likable. So I'm totally with you on that.
Right. And I think like usually when I see someone that's like, oh yeah, they're like pretty likable, like I get that logic for winning. But this time it was just like I couldn't help but think like this, like if I met this guy in real life, it would be like he'd be the coolest person I've ever met. So I can't help but think that I would have to vote him out. And this is just from like a 5-minute video I watched yesterday. So for me,
it kind of gives me Alec. Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say he gives me Alec vibes. And if they had Extinction Island last season, Alec would have been in it until the very end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there was no way Alec was going to say, no, I'm done. You're right. Like, and he would have beaten everybody in the challenges. He lost to Christian as we saw, but I think that for the most part, 90% of the time, Alec beats those people in the challenges. I mean, they all say that he was absolutely incredible at challenges. Christian just found one that he was better at. I mean, Ty's won that challenge before, and then Christian was that challenge. It doesn't necessarily favor somebody who's big like Alec. And I think that especially with the way he went out, he would have came back in and said, screw it. Like, I'm going to now prove myself. And I could see Eric doing that. I could really see him pulling that off. So
I'll catch up because I know Phil just got to 5. My 7, I have Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, similar reasons. I think, she was like a varsity athlete at her school. She does seem pretty smart. She seems cunning and witty. I think, at some point people will like similar to what they did with Julia. So actually, I don't remember why Julia got voted out in 32, so I can't make that point. But I think, they'll just think she's a threat and that she, has to get voted out, and then she'll make it to Extinction Island and not be able to handle it and then leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think. Oh God, I don't know what to say to you right now because Alexa coming out and saying that she picked Eric. Now I have to figure out who I actually want to pick as my.
You can stick with that.
I can stick with it, but then that's no fun. I mean, who wants to do that? Maybe Eric's the Mick Trimming of this season, and despite everybody liking him, he gets 3rd place and gets no votes. Maybe we'll go with that. But yeah, Julia did get voted out because she was a threat. That's what ended up happening in that season.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So if you and Alexa just want to go back and forth, I mean, I'm so far ahead. So
here, Robert, finish up and go to your 5 because my like 5 and up has a whole fan fiction with it. So go ahead.
So my 6th place, I have Joe. I before Phil told me that like this is when people are going to leave Extinction Island, I had him like about where he usually gets voted out, which is right after the merge. I think that he's still going to get voted out right before the merge, but live on Extinction Island for like as long as his body will last, and then decide it's too much and then leave. For my 5th place, I have Aubry. I think that Aubry, I feel like either Aubry gets voted out like pre-merge, or Aubry is able to form those social bonds and cement herself in an alliance that takes her super deep into the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't think Like, I don't know. I just think I'm an Aubry fanboy too much. I'm putting her at 5th place. I think she's going to be able to make the social bonds and also she's like really emotionally aware. So she's going to say like, hey, this is your first time on Survivor. Like, here, let me help you deal with the stress because I've been through it before. And then, it'll come to like, final 10, someone want to vote her out, but she's in your alliance and you don't want to put yourself in a worse position. So
is it confirmed that the fire challenge is back, right? Like that's a guarantee that's going to be
I don't think that's leaving yet.
Okay. So if that's the case, that makes this even trickier because are they going to bring people in at 5 and then do the fire making at 4? Or are they going to bring people in at 6, have a vote, and then do the fire making at 4? Because that could really influence like where somebody like Aubry finishes or where somebody like Joe finishes. I
think it's the second one. I think the finale is going to have 5 real players left. Bring in number 6. Then you do vote, final 4 fire making. That's my guess.
Okay. So maybe I was one early on this by having Joe go out at 6 and Dan at 5. Yeah. But whatever.
It could still be the same. Yeah. I think we all have Joe in a very similar spot.
Well, yeah, you're the only one who hasn't told us, so you have all the information here.
Did you get to 5, Robert?
Yes.
Okay. So my number 7 is Rick. I'll give you this, Robert. He was certainly present in the preview.
He was very present, yes.
I go 2 ways with him. He's either going to be voted out in the pre-merge because he might be a little too much for people, and then loses at this challenge because he is someone I think will hang on Extinction Island forever, or makes it to 7th place, gets voted out whenever, and then just loses that challenge. So I can't tell his longevity in the real game, but I think his longevity in Extinction Island is long. Jeez, I cannot talk today. He will be on Extinction Island forever.
Alexa's using big words today.
Big words today. Number 6, I have War Dog, and I literally wrote, this is Heroes, Healers, Hustlers, Joe. He's either going to really connect with people or really piss people off just based on how he's like interacting on Twitter. I'm going to say he doesn't win, and he either does something really big, like Phil said, like is the one who gets rid of Joe, or is the one who like gets rid of Kelley or Aubry or David or whatever, but like just barely misses it. And then the way that I have this going is Joe wins this Extinction Island duel, comes back, and then gets Matt L-rotted out. Joe wins it, immediately is voted back out, because we're not in a time of Survivor where people are like, oh, Boston Rob and Ozzy, like, this is your time. No one thinks that way anymore. So no one's going to say, you know what, Joe's here. I'm just going to give up this once-in-a-lifetime chance to let him win on his 3rd try. So I don't think Joe makes it to Final 4.
Okay, so that's your number 5. So I just want to run down this real quick, and I don't have anybody's in front of me, and mine are not written in the order that I have. But all 3 of us are at our Final 4 now. Okay, and so all 3 of us have Kelley Wentworth still alive. So we are all in a unanimous agreement that Kelley Wentworth will go the furthest out of the returning players. Now I'm curious to see if Alexa doesn't pick her as the winner because she picked Eric. I'm curious to see if Intern picks her as the winner. I'm really curious to see how this Kelley Wentworth thing is going to go down. And I just wanted to like point this out because I don't have the order. So like I feel like I can do this because I don't even have the order for myself. But Intern has Rick, Kelley Wentworth, War Dog, and Aurora.
Whoa.
And I had Aurora at what? I had Aurora at 15th. And Alexa also has Aurora.
Mm-hmm.
And she has Eric, and she has Kelley. Who's your 4th one that I haven't said yet?
Me?
Yeah, who's the 4th person? You don't have to say your 4th place. But
I believe it's Lauren, who you have not mentioned yet.
Lauren, and I also have Lauren. So, like, we're kind of in agreement, but, like, then we have our really huge difference here of I still have Julia left. You both have Aurora left. And then, like, Intern thinking that Rick and War Dog are making it to the Final 4 with Kelley Wentworth. Like, I'm all about it. That sounds cool to me, but okay.
This is why I like having like a 3rd party join us, because Phil, you and I have 3 out of our Final 4 matching. So this does change it up a bit.
I'm here to just to throw everything off. And I'm
yes,
okay with
please
that.
Screw us up. For Kelley Wentworth, I'm going to be honest, I have her losing fire making at Final 4, but okay. I have her there, and I am so badly trying to turn off my bias, and I think that I did, but why do you guys have her at number 4? Because
I don't have her at number 4.
Or no, in the final 4.
I think that this season favors her the most because, first of all, she starts on a tribe with David, who David is going to be a more strategic threat and also less useful in challenges. The girls idolize Kelley Wentworth. They really do. And I feel like she's going to get a Stephanie LaGrossa type edit here where people are going to like Kelley Wentworth, but then also get burned by Kelley Wentworth and not like that. So I think that she's going to be able to stay around because then if she does get voted off, out of any woman in this game, let's be honest, she is the one who comes back into the game. If you were playing some bets and somebody said you can only pick one man and one woman, you're picking Joe Anglim and Kelley Wentworth as the two people to come back into the game from Extinction Island. So I think Extinction Island favors her. I think the way the tribes start favors her. And I think the fact that she's starting on a tribe where I feel like there's a couple people who could be labeled as outcasts. And I feel like there's going to be people like War Dog who try to maybe use her as a shield, but she's also using him as a shield. So Robert, I like where your head's at here. But Lauren is somebody who could really try to use Kelley Wentworth as a shield. And Kelley could be trying to use Lauren as a shield. So I just think that Kelley has the most options going into this game. And like Robert said, Joe still gets voted out right at the merge. I still think that happens too. And Alexa, I don't know if you think that, but at the same point, I think that he will stick out on Extinction Island for a really long time. That makes his placement look better, despite the fact that Joey Amazing 3.0 is the same exact player as Joey Amazing 1.0 and 2.0. But Robert, what do you think?
My argument with Kelley Wentworth, I think that Kelley Wentworth is the type of player, and maybe you could expand this to just Survivor in general, but I think you get 1 or 2 chances a season to vote Kelley Wentworth out. Mm-hmm. Maybe it just so happened that in 29 she got voted out pre-merge. But I think that with Extinction Island being in play, if you vote Kelley Wentworth out at 7, she'll be able to survive for those last remaining days and make her way back into the game.
Yeah.
I think she's such a killer player that you're not going to want to vote her. You're not going to want to vote her out pre-merge because she'll be a challenge threat. If hypothetically you get a chance to vote her out earlier, she could find an idol and then save herself.
Mm-hmm.
I really just I do agree that Extinction Island helps her out so much, and I don't think that there's a reason for her to go out any sooner than 4th place. So
yeah, and I agree with that. And also, Alexa, we never talked about this, but did you see her pet peeves with the unseasoned rice games involving balls and people who think they're basically badasses? So maybe she won't get along with War Dog, but at the same time, those are 2 things that are very Survivor and one thing that kind of describes her. So
that was all based on previous references to her old seasons.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good. Okay, good. You did catch that because the basically baddest thing was what's his face, Drew Christie.
Yeah,
Drew Christie, and then the games involving balls was the final 4 challenge, right?
Yeah, it was when she lost the Kara one, and then the unseasoned race is probably just stayed constant
in general. Yeah. We didn't talk about David's either, but his is hilarious with the sudden loud noises. People who don't clean the lint trap after the dryer. People who don't keep their dog on a leash and then act surprised when it jumps on me. People who believe in ghosts and psychics, and people who incorrectly use the word nonplussed. I don't even know what that
word correctly very often.
Yeah, because nobody knows what it means. It just sounds cool. All right, so Intern, we both got to do our 4, but let's not get into our final 3 here because I think this is fun. I think we've ramped up some drama on this Bootlist podcast by bringing Intern in. Intern, you see this?
Ooh.
You see what's happening. But I'll do my number 4 first because it's not the same as Alexis. I have Julia at 4. I think that I'll have you think I'm crazy because Intern had her at 16 and Alexa had her at 12. But I think that Julia is going to actually find people to align with. I think that her tribe that she's starting with is a good tribe for her to start with. I think that when you have people like Aubry and Victoria and Joe and Ron, I think that she can get along with those people. I think she can get along with Eric. I think she can get along with Gavin, Aurora, maybe even Julie. I don't know. I feel like she can get along with everybody though, and I feel like they're going to win. And I think that she could be your person like a Michelle Fitzgerald who doesn't go to a tribal council before the merge hits. And then the merge hits, and why are you going to vote out Julia until later? And so I think that she ends up sitting down to make fire because in this hypothetical that I'm making here, I think that the people she's left with, when you have Lauren, Kelley, and Eric, I think one of them win the challenge. One of them bring I actually think that they're going to bring Kelley Wentworth, and I know that sounds crazy, but I think Kelley Wentworth might get brought to the final. Anyway, we'll talk about that. I don't know exactly how I'm having that play out. Yeah, I'm really thinking she's going to get the Stephanie LaGrossa thing here. But so I think that, maybe Lauren wins and brings Eric, and then they make Kelley have to go against Julia because you can't bring Kelley with you. And maybe Julia plays a great social game. So I have Julia going out for being the person who loses the fire making challenge, and even if she had no chance to win, being the person that the internet screams about for an entire summer as being a robbed goddess. So congratulations, Julia, you're officially a robbed goddess.
I don't think that's crazy at all. I think Julia very well could make it far.
I mean, yeah, I think like anybody on the season can make it far.
Right.
That's the whole end all be all of this.
Yeah. So intern, who's your number 4 and why?
My number 4 is Aurora. Okay. I think she will lose the fire making challenge. I think she's I talked to her about her earlier. I think she's, pretty enough and smart enough and savvy enough to be able to make it deep into the game. But people will see her as a threat, and she will not have the fire making skills of the other people that I have in the top 3, or specifically one other person, but we'll get into that after Alexa says her 4th place.
Oh, she did. She said Wentworth.
It is Kelley Wentworth.
Oh, I missed that.
Kelley gets. I feel like she loses in a way that will not be satisfying.
I do remember that. I was trying to prepare my argument mentally, but I'm back.
I think she loses in a way that she will not find satisfying.
Right. I just think that how's Kelley Wentworth going to lose fire? This is my big thing. If any of them sit down, if any of these 4 returnees sit down and make fire, they all win because they've all done it, or they've all know that this is now a thing. They're all so much hungrier, and I know that this might be wrong and the newbies might scream at me, but I think that the returnees are all so much hungrier. They just want this so bad. I mean, you're giving up. I mean, they're all successful people. I mean, Joe is dating Sierra, isn't he? That's really successful. So that's really cool.
Everyone else has made the final 4, but Joe is dating Sierra Dawn Thomas.
Joe is dating Sierra Dawn Thomas, who that's awesome. Because I saw he moved to Ogden, Utah. I was like, why would he do that? He's dating Sierra. That's awesome. So I just think that if any of them sit down, there is no way Joe Anglin gets the final 4 and loses fire. There is no way David Wright or Aubry get the final 4 and lose fire, and there's no way Kelley Wentworth gets the final 4 and loses fire. They might try to put her there, but I think that's a stupid move because I think people saw what happened when you do make people look good for making the fire. Wendell beats Dom. And I think that could have actually tipped it in Wendell's favor.
Yeah, I'm probably completely underestimating the returnees on the fire thing. But to me, I feel like the fire thing is such a crapshoot. To me, it's like Kelley could have been making fire every single day for the past God knows how many years she's been involved in Survivor. And it could just be a situational thing. So, but you're probably right. I'm probably totally
we're also assuming that Kelley Wentworth is definitely in the final 4, and this is this is what we have left. Okay, so let's do our 3rd places, and then we'll save these final 2. So nobody run off who's your they're getting 0 votes or 1 vote, or who's your Angelinas of this season? Not intern. I know yours, but everybody say it anyway.
I'll go first. Mine is Aurora. I think Aurora could be okay. If I'm not allowed to talk about 1 or 2, Aurora very well could be your 0 vote finalist. I think she gets there because, Robert, to your point, she's smart, she's witty, she's kind of she's got a lot going for her, and she deals with people who are so much worse than who she's hanging out with on the island. She probably deals with the most angry people. So I'm not concerned about her having the mental stability of being around crazy people. I am just not getting a super positive vibe from her. I'm getting an angry kind of vibe. And that's me really I don't know. I don't know if it's stereotyping. I don't know what it is, but I'm getting a not super thrilled vibe from her. And maybe that's just how she presents herself. But I think she makes it super far, and I think she very well could win. I don't see her as a guaranteed 0 vote finalist. I totally see her winning.
That's how I feel about all 3 of my final 3. I don't think that there's anybody who's when I look at this cast, I don't really see anybody who gets dragged, which is good. And there will be somebody, but I can't see it right away. Robert, your number 3 has to be
My number 3 is War Dog.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be Rick.
No, it's not Rick. Hold on. My number 3 is War Dog. I think he beats Aurora in Fire Making Challenge. I think he could get voted out first. And he was in the military, so he's just going to be like, oh yeah, I've done this before. I've literally like lived without any food. Like, it's just another day at work, and then he rides it out to final 3 and wins a challenge or something. Or, that's like worst case. He still has the physical strength to be able to make it through the tribal phase. Win some immunities, maybe. It could be anything, but I think he has the grit to be able to make it through.
And there really is nobody more excited right now.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
He's like more excited than the returnees.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, he is so pumped. I mean, it was the Cass Chrissy War Dog conversation I was talking about. I don't know if you guys saw that on Twitter, but
he like
hilarious. It's hilarious. Like, he got roasted, then he backtracked, but never stopped. It was just amazing.
It was a train wreck. It was awesome.
All 3 of them were wonderful in that conversation. Thank you for entertaining me. My number 3, I have Wentworth. So I am going all in on this Stephanie LaGrossa thing. And what people forget, and Kelley Wentworth is a really good Survivor player. The first time out, weird season. Stuck with her dad, who didn't really get along with many people. So that didn't help her. Plus, they were one of the last pairs remaining, which didn't help her, at least going into the merge. Didn't help her. Had a huge target on her back, really for no reason, because Drew Christie was a psycho. But people overestimate how well she would have done at a final tribal against Jeremy. And I don't think she would have done well. I think that the way people have talked about how second chances went down, I think that you would have seen maybe an 8-2, 7-3. People really, really respected Jeremy's game. She would have beaten Tasha. She would have beaten Spencer, whatever. But what we see happen so much on these when the returnees make it, come back to play, they almost always make it to the final, and only one of them, right, has won in terms of like in these little random seasons. It's only Boston Rob.
Only Rob.
Stephanie LaGrossa lost 6-1 to Danny Boatwright, who is arguably top 5 most forgettable winners, and I mean that out of total respect because I love Danny, but my casual fans gonna have no idea. Even a lot of super fans are like, what? Boston Rob dominates. Coach loses. Michael Scoopin gets 0, thankfully. Thank goodness. So I don't remember I'm sure I'm missing one here, but
they're held to such a higher standard.
They're held to such a higher standard. And what happens is when this person, I'm not talking about the half and half season. I'm not talking about Cochrane, and I'm not talking about that. Like, I'm talking like 3 people and 3 or 4 people or 2 people, whatever it is. So when I look at this, I just see like Kelley Wentworth, everybody loves Kelley. What's going to be worse, though, than when you think that this person who you can trust turns around and votes you out because she's ready for the game and you're ready to be Kelley Wentworth's friend. And yeah, you know that there's only one winner, but I think so many people are going to want to, like, they're playing with maybe what could be like one of their idols right now. If they're a huge Survivor fan, be like, wow, this is like one of my favorite female players ever. And I get to sit down and I'm playing with her. And then she cuts your throat and you're like, screw you. You already played once and then you ruined my chance. And I just think that it's going to be really hard for her if she gets to the final to win. And I would not be surprised if she gets to the final like many other Survivor second timers have done, or third timers have done in these, I don't even know what we call them, the captain seasons, and ends up getting no votes. Does that make any sense? Intern, what do you think about that?
I agree. I think so I know that in previous seasons people would like the newbies would not want to vote for a returning player because they don't want the returning player to win. I think that in a season with a lot of super fans, it's kind of the same argument where it's like, oh, I love this player so much and I as a fan would love to vote for her, but I also as a fan wouldn't want to lose to somebody because they are a returning player. Therefore, I would not vote for like a non-returning player to win. So I think it's the same thing where like, unless it's like a really compelling case, it's going to be not easy for a captain to win a captain's season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. And Boston Rob's was compelling because it was, you guys realized that nobody who's sitting here with me played the game. They did what I told them to do.
Right.
So we know your final two order, Intern. We know it. Because
So why, Robert, you have the floor. Why does Rick win?
Okay. So here's what happens. If for all of you who don't know, I attend Virginia Tech in the glorious Blacksburg, Virginia.
God.
And
this is great.
Here's the thing. This is very meta. And you may think, dear viewer, that is Intern crazy? And yes, I am crazy. But if I predict a Rick win and Rick actually wins, I'm going to be hailed as a prophet until 39. So I am placing everything on the table and saying that Rick Devins wins Survivor Season 38. And if I lose, I lose, but it's worth the gamble.
Well, yeah, because that's what I did with Michelle. She was a bartender in New Jersey, and I was like, hey, right by where I live, that works. So, hey, man, I
love the conviction. Love the conviction.
Love it.
I don't care what you guys are saying about him. He was in the preview. He's super cool, super likable. And he posted a picture on Twitter with him wearing a Virginia Tech sweater today. So that's all I need. I'm on the Rick fanboy train until the end of time. Take it away, Alexa.
Well, he's certainly, I mean, I'll give you this. He's a morning news anchor. Like, he is someone who knows how to talk. He knows how to talk to people. And maybe some could say that, like, people who are morning news anchors have a lot of energy. But one, he'll probably need that if he ends up on Extinction Island. And two, he's going to be a super positive force. Like, people who are morning news anchors are happy in the morning every single day, like naturally. So he has a natural positivity that I don't think anybody will be able to recreate. And I do like Blacksburg, Virginia. I'm just going to say that before.
We had a good time that one time.
Yeah, we had a really good time paying a $2 cover at a bar. But it was a great time, which I thought was I'm very anti-cover, and I thought that was very stupid. But Blacksburg is wonderful, and Rick is wonderful because from there. I have Lauren at number 2, Eric at number 1, as I mentioned probably about a half an hour ago. But those are super interchangeable for me. I think Lauren very well could win. I don't have a main reason for why she will lose to Eric, but both of them to me are like the obvious person. Like, they're both likable, team players, athletic, this, that, the other thing. But Lauren can hide behind Kelley Wentworth, which you guys pointed out earlier. Eric can hide behind like 5 people. He can hide behind Chris, War Dog, Joe. Lauren can hide behind Aurora. There are enough obvious people on the season for them to become quote unquote average, which is, I think, what is needed. And I think Nick from not Ghost Island. Oh my God. What did we just watch? David vs. Goliath.
Same thing.
Whatever. He fits into that too, because he was behind like Christian, and some could say Davey, or even physically John. And yet Nick was the one who just ended up there by his own moves. And I think Eric and Lauren can fit into that mold very easily.
Yeah, it's funny that we have the same last 2, and I'm obviously going to swap mine so that it's not boring. I put Eric at 2 and Lauren at 1 because I agree with you. I think either one of them can win. Now, this could be super obvious and we look like idiots, and it's like.
And Rick just pulls away with the 10-0 victory.
10-0 victory over. He ends up sitting there with like Aubry and David and beats them both 10-0, and we just look like idiots. And here comes Intern running around screaming at the top of his lungs. But
Cyber generalist.
Exactly. I can't wait to hear who Vaughn's winner pick is, which we'll get there. But what I think happens on this season right off the bat is if you look at the Blue Tribe, Lauren and Kelley don't have anybody they should instantly connect with, like right away, except for each other. And I think that they get together right away because the other 2 women on that tribe are Reem and Wendy. And I don't see either of them really getting along with Reem or Wendy. That's not their style, especially Kelley. We've seen the types of people that she aligns with. I don't know. I guess it's like the cool kids, right? I mean, other than Drew Christie wanting to vote her out. But, I mean, really at the end of the day, it was her dad who kind of screwed up her game. And her dad, I don't think would be considered one of the cool kids, despite the fact that Dale was the man. But, like, when I look at this, I feel like the 2 of them are going to get together right away. And if they're going for strength, they're going to get War Dog and they're going to get Chris. And that's what you're going to have. And if you hit a swap, these are 2 really likable people. And I'm like a firm believer that Kelley's going to do much of the dirty work and Lauren's going to reap the benefits from it. And I don't even know if Eric's going to be in their alliance because they don't even start on the same tribe. But I just feel like Eric, like, he can get there anyway. He can get there if he has to go to Extinction Island. He can get there if he has to win his way back in. He could get there just by playing a really good social and physical game because, like Intern said earlier, he's great. Like, he's super entertaining. He's super likable. He seems just like a really positive guy. So that's why I have Lauren and Eric as my last two, and why I think that they can beat a Kelley Wentworth if Kelley Wentworth gets to the final three with them. So
there we have it. Robert, I'm glad you came on because otherwise Phil and I would have been agreeing with each other for like the past 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, no, I love putting it all on the line for something as a joke. So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Are you saying that our podcast is a joke?
No, I'm saying that my pick is a joke, and when I win, it'll be worth it because then I get to rub it in your faces.
Exactly.
Oh, you fit right in.
I can't wait till Rick gets voted out first and then just says, screw Extinction Island, I'm not going there. And then
he's my stuff. He's your Stephanie Gonzalez.
Yeah.
She was going to win every season ever.
Yeah, never forget. But that's it for that.
Did we almost clock in 2 hours? Or am I wrong?
That's what happens when Intern shows up. He just keeps on talking. It was all him, too.
Yeah, all me.
Yeah, he just like nods his head. Yeah.
No. Yep. Yes.
I saw something really funny in the comment section a little while ago where someone said, I'm afraid to go against Intern's Bootlist picks because his are probably right. And someone said, I like to take Alexa's and do them backwards, and I do really well.
It's true.
So if you guys aren't sure of what to do, usually this is usually what happens. Like, people are going to prop up Rick and Lauren and Eric. But I would definitely recommend putting Wendy, Victoria, and Reem in your final three because those are my bottoms. So definitely do a combination of the opposite of mine and what Robert's doing.
Yeah, there you go. And we're going to be doing what? We're doing prop bet on next Wednesday, right?
Yes, we'll do prop bet next Wednesday, which is just us, which will be quite lonely. And then we'll do Vaughn after that. But Robert, do you have any like closing arguments? Any more pro Rick propaganda? Soon.
I would love to be back on soon. Where is Virginia Tech in basketball right now?
Ranked way ahead of us. They Williams a great coach.
We're 11th place right now, so that's pretty good. I think that's a pretty good case for Rick making the finals, is Blacksburg being 11th place. Yeah, got nothing else.
That's
it. On again.
I have Rick at 12th, just so you know, so we could just get Virginia Tech to drop a spot, and then I'll just be right. So that would be
right. There we
go. Yeah. But yeah, so we'll be doing prop bet soon. We'll figure out with Vaughn. Also, I just want to throw this out there. Power rankings game is going to be a thing for patrons. Go to our patron website. That is below in the description here. If you go there, you can see what we offer. You'll see where we offer the power rankings game. It should be really, really fun. Hopefully it's something that Intern has to input.
My favorite.
Just to make his life a living hell. But you'll get to compete against us, and the winner gets a buff. So you won't have to beat Alexa or I. You just have to win against the other patrons. But that should be really fun. So keep an eye out for that. Definitely go over, become a patron, and Alexa, close us out. Do all the fun stuff. All right.
So I will do all the fun stuff. Phil, luckily, did already have to work for me. We are going to be back in approximately 30 seconds with our Q&A podcast for those who are $5 patrons and up. We have had some interesting questions. We had one that I think Phil and I are hopefully going to enjoy talking about because it does involve Philip Shepard and the two of us. So if you're a $5 patron, listen to that right after this. If you are not a $5 patron, you should totally become one. You can join our Facebook group where people have been submitting questions for these. If you donate, if you pledge $10 to us, you'll get everything I just mentioned along with a retrospective podcast. We are probably going to do this month's retrospective next week, right after we do our prop bet, and it's probably going to be something oriented towards these kind of island seasons. This Extinction Island, this Redemption Island, this Outcast Twist, Exile Island, just kind of talking those through. We're trying to only do some list-oriented podcasts because I know that's kind of all we do. So tune in for that and become a $20 patron, and you can do our power rankings game. We're still it should be pretty easy to actually submit this. We'll work through that. But like Phil said, you don't need to beat us. You just need to beat the other people, which realistically is probably more of a challenge than beating us.
But also only like a 1 in right now. I think we only have 10. So like the competition isn't that fierce. You have a better chance of winning this than you do of winning than any of these people do of winning Survivor. I mean,
I was going to say of winning our Bootlist or Profits games, but also winning Survivor. We usually get between like 200 and 300 submissions. So for those of you who are listening right now, and for those of you who will be listening for the next few weeks, make sure to submit your Bootlist. Please comment on this YouTube video. We always like beat this horse to death. We will not submit. We will not count a Bootlist if it is not submitted on this video. We will send this link around on all of our social media plenty of times. And we don't have an exact cutoff, but let's just go with the Monday leading into the season. So if this is not submitted by Monday, February 18th, it will not count. Please do that. We always get people messaging us saying like, oh, I submitted too late. Here's your chance. You have like 2 weeks to do it. I'm trying to think of what else I'm missing. Follow us on all of our social media. And we will be back not only right now for our patrons, but we'll be back next Wednesday, probably around the same time for our Prop Bet podcast. And then a few days later, we will be talking to Vaughn for our fantasy game podcast. But in the meantime, Robert, thank you so much for coming on. You are so much smarter than us, which is why you and Vaughn should definitely go do your own spinoff podcast.
Speak for yourself, Alexa.
Intern for podcast number 4. On Twitter. Tweet at Survivor Specialists.
Yes, and please get this trending. Along with Delexa and all the other obscure hashtags that we've come up with before. So yeah, that is all I have to say.
Yeah. All right. I'll X this, and it's Intern, not Robert. Just want to say that.